This is a story about an enduro race in the middle of the Ouachita Mountains, day after crazy storm with tornadoes and you name it, and how one coffee cup meets another coffee cup and sparks fly in the middle of chaos. All right, this is Betty's side of the story. Let's ride into it. All right, welcome to another coffee cup story from Goodbye Cycles. And this story is pretty cool. It's about how two coffee cups come together in the most unlikely situations, from storms and you name it and everything in between. I woke to the Ouachitas smelling like a toolbox had married a pine forest. Iron, wet sap, dirt, and the aftertaste of last night's tantrum. Kind of storm that would have made Noah check his calendar. The red clay had gone full pudding. Every shoe, tire, dog paw picked up a souvenir layer that grew with each step, turning ankles into clay sculptures across the churned corridor between hospitality tent and the mechanic tent. Humans in number plates shuffled around, pretending they were excited. I've seen that expression before. It's the same look I get right before someone pours decaf in me. Enthusiasm with the sign of betrayal. I'm Kurt. I'm a blue enamel coffee cup, chipped at the lip in the unmistakable shape of Oklahoma. Some mugs would call it a flaw. I just call it a conversation starter. My human bought me at this gas station in Tulsa 7 years ago, and I've been riding shotgun ever since. I ride in crates, in the van, on dashboards. I've watched sunrises through bug-splattered windshields and listened to the coyotes rehearse their harmonies 2 a.m. when my human pulled over to check the map. I've been forgotten on more picnic tables than some of you had birthdays, and yet somehow I always find my way back. Usually by being spotted by my human's girlfriend, who has the eagle eyes of a sniper and the patience of a saint. The hospitality tent breathes like a dragon, propane hissing under percolator as a kettle drum, steam sneaking out of the lid like it was trying to escape. Volunteers fiddled with cowbells in that way people do when they're trying to look useful but really just want to bring something. Yeah, we all know those people. Tables sagged under the weight of energy bars still in their boxes, bananas going from green to spotted in real time. In the water cooler that gurgled like it had opinions. Yeah, the percolator was my lighthouse. Coffee is on our tide. The thing that pulls us mugs into purpose and out again over and over. Predictable as the moon, but slightly more caffeinated. My human, a lanky guy named Travis, who could strip a bike faster than a crow dismantles a sandwich, set me down on a folding table near the tent entrance, right in the crossfires of mud-fleeing traffic. Not ideal, but I've been in worse positions. I once spent 3 hours wedged between a tire pump and a tackle box, while my human argued with a park ranger about whether a campfire technically counts as a campfire if you're just warming up the night's chili. Of course, the ranger won. I still smell like burnt beans sometimes when the weather's humid. That's when I saw her, across the mud, perched beside a bin of tools in the mechanic tent. A cream-colored diner mug surveyed the world like it owed her rent. Handle big enough for a handshake, base broad enough to moonlight as a paperweight in a tornado. But like she's been built like she's seen the Great Depression and decided it wasn't impressive. Our hairline crack traced her glaze, a faint river from lip to logo. Rita's Ridge Diner didn't even look damaged so much as a biography line. Surveyed 1,000 mornings, still steady. She was built for bacon days and pie nights, for farmers who needed 3 cups before they could speak, and truckers who paid in crumples singles but tipped in stories. Here she sat among hex wrenches and brake rotors, as if none of it could faze her, steam curling from her rib, like she was contemplating something philosophical. Curling from her rib, like she was contemplating something important. I've seen a lot of mugs, traveled with a few too. There was a titanium camping mug in Colorado who wouldn't shut up about being, "Ooh, I'm ultralight." We get it, Todd. You weight weenies. There was a souvenir mug from Graceanne who claimed she had been kissed by Elvis, which was statistically improbable, anatomically questionable. But this diner mug, she had this presence. She had gravity, kind of mug who witnessed more human drama than a courthouse and kept every secret locked tight in her porcelain bones. I tilted just enough to catch the steam drafting between us, a little wave in vapor form, cold I called, the universal mug hello. Part weather report, part flirtation, part excuse to hear someone's voice. Not for long, my human port's heavy, Betty said. What? A woman of taste and gravity. If you've never fallen for a diner mug, imagine a lighthouse you can drink from. Steady, practical, and possibly romantic in the right light. My name's Kurt, I said, adding a little swagger to my tilt. World traveler, dashboard philosopher, and chipped by popular demand. I'm Betty. I'm a window seat veteran. I've watched more proposals than a ring shop, and I never spill secrets. Betty. Solid, no nonsense. Kind of mug who would be unfazed by family of raccoons, crash landing into the condiment caddy at 3 a.m. in the morning. The kind who's seen everything twice and still showed up for the third time with grace. Yep, I was a goner, Kurt said. I was a goner. Around us, the race prep circles continued its performance. A rider head-to-toe neon yellow stood in front of the mechanic tent, arguing with his bike like it was a difficult teenager. His derailleur hanger was bent at an angle that would make a chiropractor weep, and no amount of sweet talk was going to fix it. A mechanic with grease-stained hands and the patience of a Buddhist monk gently removed the bike from the rider's grip and got to work. Another rider, older, weathered, with the kind of legs that suggested he'd been doing this since before mountain bikes had gears, calmly checked his tire pressure with a gauge that looked older than some of the volunteers. He nodded to himself, made a microscopic adjustment, nodded again. Gotta expect that old school, gotta respect it. We spent the day volleying words back and forth, like ping pong balls, across the muddy aisle. Betty asked about my chip. I told her it happened on Route 66 during a gas station brawl between a toolbox and a pothole. My human had set me on the hood of his van while he wrestled with a flat tire, and when it hit the toolbox with his knee in frustration, it went airborne, chipped me mid-flight. Could have been worse. Could have been a full crack instead. I got Oklahoma geographic destiny. Betty said mine. Betty told me that hers was earned during a late-night diner scuffle when a trucker tried to pay for eggs with a lottery ticket. The waitress, Rita herself, legend has it, slammed me down on the counter for emphasis while explaining that lottery tickets, sir, are not legal tender. The crack spread like a whisper. Well, Betty went on to tell me in her own voice that hers was earned during a late-night diner scuffle between a trucker who tried to pay for eggs with a lottery ticket. The waitress, Rita herself, legend has it, slammed me down on the counter for emphasis while explaining that lottery tickets, sir, are not legal tender, she told me. And then she added, cracks spread like a whisper. I told her, it's a badge of honor. It's proof that sometimes you have to make a point. And porcelain always remembers, I had to remind her. Between our stories, we watched the human comedy unfold. A rider discovered his spare tube, had a hole in it, and spiraled into an existential crisis that involved calling his mother. A phone dropped. A volunteer dropped an entire box of energy jars into the mud. And for a moment, everyone just stared at it like it was modern art installation. Someone's dog, a border collie with opinions, barked at every bike that passed until its owner dragged it away. Still barking, still convinced it was protecting everyone from the two-wheeled menace. And Betty told me about the diner, about mornings that smelled like coffee and butter, about the regulars who always ordered eggs, confused. Scrambled with cheese, apparently. Humans are weird, she told me. About the jukebox that only played songs from 1957 because that's when Rita met her husband, and she saw no reason to update. She told me about being retired, sold at a flea market, given a second life by a bike mechanic who just needed something solid to hold his coffee. I told her about the road, about the time my human forgot me at a rest stop in New Mexico. It drove 3 hours back to get me, about sleeping under the stars in Utah while coyotes sang their strange, lonely songs. Meanwhile, while her and I swapped stories, the humans buzzed around us like caffeinated bees. Riders adjusted derailleur hangers. When the whistle blew and the racers took off, the whole mountain seemed to tremble. Tires slurped mud like spaghetti, making obscene, squelching sounds that echoed through the trees. Cowbells clinged in rhythm that suggested either enthusiasm or a cry for help. Guy in a tutu shouted encouragement in a falsetto while running uphill with a beer in each hand because, well, just because he did. Humans, honestly, they endure misery for medals. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the misery is the story. Betty and I continued talking Our voices carried across the mud when the chaos ebbed. She had opinions about everything. Saddle height. Most people said it wrong. Nutrition strategy. Real food beats gels. And why rim brakes were superior, despite what the disc brake evangelicals preached. I listened. I've been a lot of places, but I never spent much time in one spot. Betty knew depth. Together, we were almost one complete perspective. By evening, the race wound down. Riders trickled back, mud-soaked and hollow-eyed. Their jerseys unzipped, their faces showed that particular expression of someone who has made a series of questionable decisions and will absolutely do it again next year. Travis grabbed me for one last pour. His hands shaking from exhaustion and adrenaline. He'd just been wrenching for 8 hours straight, and I had been right there beside him, catching his coffee, his breath, his muttered prayers to the gods of derailleur alignments. He drained me, rinsed me with water from a jug, and set me down on the tailgate of a pickup. And fate, that mischievous bastard, Betty right beside me. Our rims touched, not clashed, but bumped, rusted, enamel against porcelain, blue against cream, road against diner, wanderer against waitress, and in that quiet, between the clicks of cooling drivetrains and the hiss of someone popping a beer, between the laughter and the groans of the rustle of humans packing up their soaked tents, I felt it. That rare thing, connection. Kind you don't plan for, don't expect. You just receive it like grace. This is good, Betty told me. The best I've seen in 100 races, 1,000 sunrises. Met more mugs than I could count, but this storm morning, this mud circus, this cream-colored diner mug with a crack like a river and a voice like home. This was different. Betty asked me if she'd see me next year. If my human brings me back, because the truth, being a mug, we go where we're taken. We don't choose our adventures. We just hold on tight and try to enjoy the ride. Next year, Kurt. And bring 2 percolators, Betty told me. I would have laughed if I had lungs. Later that night, I'd forgotten on a camp table under the sky, scrubbed clean by the storm. I watched the stars carve patterns over the Ouachitas. Humans snored in tents, bikes leaned against trucks like exhausted soldiers, and Betty's silhouette was already gone, packed away in her diner-stamped destiny, heading back to wherever her human called home. But mugs, remember, we hold more than coffee. We hold moments, stories, cracks, chips, the warmth of hands, the cold of mornings, and the weight of silence, and the lightness of laughter. So, that's Kurt's story on how Kurt met Betty. And somewhere out there, in a mechanic's workshop, or maybe just in the back of Rita's diner, Betty is holding someone's morning coffee, keeping their secret, and maybe, just maybe, thinking about that blue coffee cup and chipped shape like Oklahoma. Again, that's a coffee cup story. Somewhat true, somewhat based on true story. If you'd like to hear the extended version, just look us up on wherever you listen to podcasts. We do an audio version where we go in extensively about how this came to be. Again, this is Goodbye Cycles Coffee Cup Story.